What's good YouTube, Akil here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be sharing some sales from eBay with you guys. And in this video I got a bunch of different unique and kind of rare items that I don't typically pick up in thrift stores, so this will give you guys a really good idea in terms of what to look for when you guys are out there sourcing at different thrift stores or even garage sales and yard sales and places like that. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and without further ado, let's get into it. Alright y'all, so first up is this Nintendo Game Boy, and this is actually the original Game Boy, and as soon as I seen this one, I knew I had to grab it up. They only was asking $5 for this one, maybe it was like $5.99 or something like that. And as soon as I seen it, just seeing the price tag, it made me a little nervous, because anything Nintendo related in a lot of these Goodwills out here in Arizona is usually always super expensive. So I instantly had like some, little nervousness about it, but for $5 I figured it would definitely be worth a chance. And as soon as I put some batteries in here, I realized that the screen was broken. So of course I had to sell it for parts or repair, and thankfully these are still selling for right around $40 in this condition. And the person that actually bought this asked me if the speaker was working, so of course I tested it out one more time to make sure that I heard that little ding that usually turns on once you put some batteries in here, and the speaker was still working. So this person probably was one of those people that sell these types of stuff. They fix it up and then they resell it for probably closer to $100, because I know that's usually what these sell for in really good condition. So at the end of the day, I was able to make some profit. I'm sure this person will eventually sell this and make some profit, so everybody wins. Next up, and this is something that I usually don't sell, but here we have 4 Infinity machine center caps. I had these a really long time now, and they was kind of just sitting in my inventory, but over these past few weeks I'm really just trying to sell basically any and everything that I have in the house, because I realized that as much as I try to kind of declutter and kind of keep things organized, with the amount of thrifting that I do, I'm always bringing in more stuff. So I'm always just trying to get stuff out of the house, and I came across these and I realized that these were selling for like $50. So I went ahead and I listed these with free shipping, and it took a while to sell, maybe about 2 to 3 months, but they finally did sell for $50. And I've had these so long I don't even remember how much I spent, but it couldn't have been more than $10, so I definitely made some good profit on that. Next up, we have somewhat of like a feel-good story for me. This is the TPLink Deco router, and I've sold these in the past, so I know exactly how these things work, and I tried to test all of these stuff out before I sell it. Well, the majority of these things I try to test out before I actually sell it. And this item in particular, I definitely tested it, made sure that it worked just fine, and when the buyer received it, they said that it wasn't working. And back in the day, like a few years ago, anytime a buyer would say they would open a return or something like that, I would get super frustrated, because of course I couldn't afford to give returns. But at this stage in the game, I've just learned that in most instances it's just best to just refund the buyer and just keep it moving, and that's what I ended up doing with this. And I thought it was all over with that, and a couple weeks later the buyer actually told me that they were able to get it working, and it was working just fine. So they actually sent me the money again. All I did was relist the item and they bought it immediately, and I just marked the item as shipped, and it worked out just fine. So like I said, kind of a feel-good story, because I know there's a lot of people out there that's super negative and always saying that eBay's full of scammers and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, eBay definitely has its fair share of scammers, just like every other platform out there, but there are some honest people with some integrity. So kind of just wanted to shed some light on that, and I think I spent maybe $5 or $6 on this one as well. Next up, keeping things going with some of these Nintendo items, is this red Nintendo Wii, and this is something that I had to kind of piece together bit by bit. I originally just found the Nintendo Wii by itself, and just over a few days, in like a couple weeks, I came across a controller, and then I found the power supply. I bought a bunch of replacement Wii sensor bars. I think I bought like maybe 5 or 6 of those, and I was able to kind of just throw that in here to just complete the set. And this one sold for $90. And I usually, at one point I was selling Nintendo Wiis for like $100 to $120, and this was during quarantine when everybody was kind of stuck at home. But now the Nintendo Wiis, they're not selling for that much money. Now I'm getting closer to maybe $75 to $90. This one was a rarity. I usually don't get this much for this one anymore, but I think because it is the red Nintendo Wii, there's a little more value there. So definitely happy with this sale overall. Next up, we got a pair of Lebron 17s in this Oreo colorway, and these are in really good shape. I actually had these for a while. I think I picked these up maybe 2 months ago. I know it's in a previous trip to the thrift video, but I remember spending about $12 on these with that additional 20% off. And my plan was actually to keep these, but as you guys know, I got a daughter on the way, so I don't need to just be hoarding a bunch of sneakers like I used to. So I just went ahead and I listed these. I cleaned them up just a little bit, and I went ahead and I listed these for $110 with free shipping. And of course, as you guys know, you sell shoes for over $100 on eBay, save that money on fees, so made a decent amount of profit with these. Next up, we got this Guitar Hero guitar for the Xbox 360, and this one sold for $60 plus $15, well, $14 shipping. Really good condition on this one. The thing with these is that I usually would get a little more profit if I have the strap, but this one didn't have like that strap that goes over the shoulder, so I only charged $60 plus shipping for this one. But if I did have the strap, probably charge maybe 65 to maybe $70 for that. But it is what it is. This one took maybe 3 to 4 weeks for this one to sell, so it wasn't a super fast sale, but once again I spent right around $7 for this, so good amount of profit for me. Next up, we got something else that I usually don't sell, kind of unique for me, and this is a pair of ice skates. The brand of this one was actually from Rydell, and if you guys follow the channel, you guys know I picked up a pair of Rydell roller skates maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and those sold for like $200. So as soon as I seen Rydell, I definitely had to grab these up, and I think I spent $10 on these, and thankfully these sold for $60 plus $9 shipping. There was a ton of people that had these listed super expensive for like well over $100, but the previous sales over the last like 90 days were all selling for right around $50 to $60. So that's when I priced mine for $60, and it sold within about maybe 2 weeks. So definitely a quick sale for me. Next up, we actually have this Nike USA soccer jersey, and the funny thing with this one, I used to accept returns. I used to accept 30-day returns on every single item, but ever since I kind of switched over my store to selling more electronics, I stopped doing that, only because people would buy stuff and basically try to buy it and kind of rent it from you, or buy a game and then beat the game and try to rent it and send it back. So for that reason, I stopped accepting returns on everything in my store, and the person already knew that I wasn't accepting returns on this, but they still went ahead and they asked me if I would return it, mainly because they said it just didn't fit them as well as they wanted it to, and I just went ahead and I declined it, and that was the end of that. So it's a good thing to accept returns and offer those types of offer that type of experience for buyers, but I've just learned through prior experience that offering returns on everything is definitely not a necessity. It's really just up to you on how you want to run your store. And the thing is, if I sell something, say it doesn't work, and the buyer says, it just doesn't work, it's not as described, eBay will still let them open a return case. So it's not like it's not like I'm trying to scam people or anything like that. It's mainly just trying to give me some peace of mind, knowing that somebody can't return something just because they changed their mind or it doesn't fit. Or another thing that I used to hate was that someone would say they found it cheaper, so they wanted to return my item, and then they'd have to pay for return shipping, so it basically ended up being the same thing for them anyway. So it is what it is. Like I said, I've just changed, and I'm no longer doing returns on everything in my store. Alright, y'all, so next up is this Panasonic HC550 camera, and this camera I definitely had to buy the replacement battery charger for this one, because this one sold for $250 plus $9 shipping, and I was blown away when I found this camera. It was just in really good shape, and I sell a ton of camcorders, especially the more modern ones, because they're easier to test. So I knew this one was working just fine. I just needed to get the battery charger for this, and I think I spent maybe $12 on the charger. I think I spent $9 on the camera, so all in right around 20, maybe $25 all in, and this one sold for $250. So definitely a ton of profit here. I always tell people, make sure that you guys are checking out some of these cameras, because even some of the older ones still sell for a ton of profit, and some of these more modern ones are still selling for a good amount of money as well. So definitely be on the lookout for some of these. Alright, y'all, so I tell you guys all the time, I tend to not pick up items that are broken or the stuff that I have to sell as parts, and something like this is something that I would definitely sell for parts all day long. So this was basically just a digital radio, and once I put in the model number, I seen that these were selling for like $150, sometimes even $200, and as soon as I got home, I tried to test it out, and it just wasn't working. So I still was able to sell it for parts, and this one sold for $80 plus $8 shipping, and I think I spent $4 on this. It was definitely in a little bag, and they probably tried to test it out in the Goodwill as well, and once they tested it out, they realized it was no good, so they priced it super cheap, and I was able to capitalize on this. So stuff like this doesn't happen for me often. I don't sell a ton of stuff that's broken or damaged, but if something's broken and I see that it can still bring in a decent amount of profit, such as like an old console like a Sony PlayStation or even an Xbox 360, I'll definitely grab those up all day long. Next up, keeping things going with another big sale. This is a pair of those Kobe AD samples that I picked up a few years ago when I was living in Santa Barbara. I've been selling them slowly but surely. I think I have 8 pairs left in total, and I had a ton of these when I first picked them up for about 40 bucks a piece, and this one sold for 300 bucks plus $16 shipping. Like I said, I always price these super expensive because I know these used to belong to Kyle Corver, and he donated a ton of his, old shoes and jerseys and stuff like that to that Goodwill out there in Santa Barbara. So I had these priced super high for a long time, and I knew it was going to take a while for these to sell, but all in all, I definitely made my money I made my money back just after selling, just selling one shoe. I made my money back. So still sitting on a few pairs, and I'll keep you guys updated while these continue to sell. Next up, we got this Sirius XM Radio, and this one was actually brand new in the box. The box was open, but everything was still in the box, so I listed it as an open box, and this one sold for 70 bucks with free shipping. And I tend to pass on a lot of those Sirius XM radios only because some of them sell for a ton of profit, but some of them don't, so you definitely still have to check out the model number to see which ones are worth it. But since this one was brand new in the box, I definitely had to take a chance on this. I didn't even check the comps while I was in the store. I just figured it would be worth it, and I spent 8 bucks on this, and this one sold within about a week and a half, so definitely a quick sale. And next up, this is definitely one of those more unique items that I was telling you guys about. Here is a Karaoke microphone, and the best thing about this one, the brand was called Lead Singer, and it included the book, and it also had, the little power cable and the AV cable that connects to the TV. But the best thing about this one is that it actually had a bunch of music cartridges, and just the cartridges by itself tends to sell for like 10 to 15 bucks depending on the song titles and stuff like that the cartridges have. And this one had 4 cartridges in it, and I was able to price this one for 90 bucks plus $9 shipping, and it sold within about 2 to 3 weeks. So definitely excited about this sale. This is something that I usually would have passed on, but as soon as I seen the microphone and I seen the book, something told me just check the comps really quickly, and I was super surprised when I seen that this one was selling for so much money. And I think I was even more surprised when I opened the back of it and I realized that they actually had cartridges in it, because I had no clue that this was a thing. I didn't know that you can kind of plug in some of these cartridges kind of like an N64 or Super Nintendo. So this was definitely a kind of a rare item, something that I hope I can come across again. But like I said, if you guys see these in any of your thrift stores, definitely grab it up. Alright y'all, that's all I have for today's video. So if you guys enjoyed that one, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
For the winner, cause you felt like you was losing, only for the winner. Mood just to keep from cooling, like only for the winner, only for the winner, only for the winner. Boy, my heart is cold, and I'm too cool to sweat it. I should've never offered it. I'm tight and now I'm off this shit.